Greetings, greetings, bonjour, ujjayi. Welcome to my channel and welcome back if you are returning. My name is Tameka Gray and today I want to share with you a restorative yoga practice for osteoporosis. Scientific studies are showing that yoga can help with osteoporosis. How, you might ask? When practicing yoga, we are able to bring attention away from the body. And that happens because yoga reduces cortisol levels. Cortisol can affect bone density loss in a negative way. So by reducing cortisol levels, we can help to maintain bone density. Also, the practice of yoga helps us to be more mindful, and that can also help to release any stress or tension in the body and mind if someone is facing osteoporosis. As this is a restorative yoga practice, we will be needing props. So please grab a couple of blankets, some bolsters, and blocks. If you don't have these particular items, do not worry. Grab whatever blankets you have. Maybe they're comforters. Maybe grab some pillows off of the sofa or bed. And then for the blocks, maybe some thick books or maybe even a pot. Go ahead and make sure you have your items nearby and we'll get started with our practice today. All right, before we get moving, let's come into a seated position. If this is comfortable for you, you can start in this folded legs position on the mat called Sukhasana. If this is not in your practice, be my guest and sit in a chair. Just make sure that you have your ankles under your knees, feet flat on the floor, and feel like your spine is sitting up tall and straight. For those of us that are on the mat, same rules apply. See if you can have the spine sitting up tall and feeling straight. You can have your palms face down on your legs or knees for grounding into this practice today. We're going to start with some breathing. So for now, just bring your awareness to your breath. Maybe you close your eyes or stare straight ahead so that you can bring your total focus and total awareness to your breath. Wonderful. Just noticing the slight movements in the body as the air moves in and out. And now we'll start to slow down the breath, going as slow as possible. On the count of 3, we're going to start with the exhale. And we're going to either exhale through the mouth or the nose. It just really depends on what's in your practice today. For sure, we are going to inhale through the nose as much as possible. Relax the jaw muscles. Allow there to be space between your teeth and space between the lips. Relax the tongue. If there's any extra saliva produced, just swallow that and allow that to bring you even deeper into this moment, this practice today. On the count of 3, we'll start with a slow exhale. 3, 2, 1. Exhaling, release, release as slow as possible. Good, and then when you're all empty, inhaling through the nose as much as possible. exhaling, keep going. Go as slow as possible. Slow breaths are nourishing and help to bring more balance into the body. Excellent. One more round. Beautiful. So if you closed your eyes, you can go ahead and blink them open. If your eyes are already open, just notice how you feel. We only took a few slow breaths. And maybe you don't feel any change at all, but maybe you feel a sense of balance, a sense of stability. I encourage you to take slow breaths throughout the practice, throughout your day, throughout your life. Maybe first thing when you wake up in the morning and last thing at night before you go to bed. Slow breaths are healing and nourishing for the organs and the entire body. Without further ado, let's get into this practice of movement. We're going to start at the wall. So I didn't call out the wall as a prop, but you will be needing a wall. If you don't have a wall, the back of a chair will do, or the back of the sofa, or even a table, provided that the height is there for those items. But coming to the wall, we're going to start in a wall-supported downward facing dog. So I'm going to come out of the frame a little bit, don't worry. But we're going to stand up straight, walk over towards the wall, and just make sure there's enough space so that when you hinge at your hip and reach the arms forward, you can plant your hands, the palms of your hands, on the wall. So maybe once you get here, you make some small adjustments with the feet, maybe some small adjustments with the hands. Find where your wall-supported downward-facing dog is. So the hips are heading back. The navel is sort of tucked in with heading towards the thighs. So you're feeling an activation here. We're going to stay here for a few minutes. So find where is your wall-supported downward-facing dog. Remember to breathe slowly. And time starts now. Be here for about 2 more minutes. Awesome. If you haven't already, maybe take some slow breaths here as we begin to come out of our first pose. Maybe 3 slow breaths. Wonderful. Go ahead and gently release your hands from the wall. Pull your body up to stand up straight and tall. Okay? So let's see, maybe if I can stay in the frame here. Just standing up tall, relax the arms for a moment, and then we'll come back to the wall, the chair, the back of the sofa, whatever you are using in this practice today. And as we come back to the wall, or whatever you're using, this time we're going to head into wall-supported triangle pose. So starting back from our downward-facing dog, finding that alignment, finding that 90-degree, feeling and finding that 90-degree angle. We step the right foot forward. Both feet are still flat on the mat. And we hold here in a wall-supported triangle pose. If you would like to create more space in the feet, be my guest. Maybe you bring the right foot forward a little bit more. I'm going to set the timer. Find your spot, where you're going to hold for today, and the time begins now. See if you can open the fingers nice and wide so that the whole hand is pressing against the wall. We'll be here for a little under 2 more minutes. Draw the shoulders back away from the ears if you can. Notice if the hips are leaning to one side or the other. See if you can bring them back center. Invitation here to take 3 slow breaths. Nice. As you're ready, gently step your right foot back to meet with the left. Option here to release the hands from the wall and stand up straight, if you like, for a moment before we head to the other side. Heading to the other side, we're starting from our downward facing dog, and we step the left foot forward. The time begins now. Micro adjustments are welcome. Both feet planted firmly in the mat. Both hands pressing against the wall. All fingers and the palm of the hand. Fingers open wide. Bring the hips back in line if they head over to one side. Option to take 3 slow breaths here. Excellent. Be here for just a few more seconds. And then, as you're ready, step the left foot back to meet with the right foot, bringing us back into our wall-supported downward facing dog. Dropping, releasing the hands from the wall. Go ahead and stand up nice and tall. Maybe draw the shoulder blades back and down. And let's come onto the mat, and I'll come back into the frame. All right. And now we're going to head into a supported child's pose. We bring the knees to the width of the mat for child's pose as a standard. If you want to bring the knees in closer together, that is an option for you, absolutely. But whichever position you decide for your knees, make sure that the big toes are touching in the back. And grab the bolster, the big bolster. Maybe you also grab the blankets. I'm going to bring the big bolster and place it in between the legs. The blankets can be used in several different ways. We don't want to have the blankets to be folded too thick though. So about here is good. So I folded this twice, right? You could place the blanket under your ankles. So it would be here. You could place the blankets under your or behind your knees. And when you do that, you could make the blanket as thick as you like. Whatever support you need there, you could allow the blanket to do that for you. Maybe you take the blanket, remove the big bolster, and place the blanket under your knees. And then bring back in the bolster. Okay? Another option is to bring one of the blocks in. And maybe you just place one of the blocks here, right under the bolster for a slight incline. If you would like a even steeper incline, you could use more blocks. Another way to use blankets is to bring them to support the arms. So you could place blankets, and of course if I had more blankets, you could have the blankets in all of the places, all of the above, okay? Under the ankles, behind the knees, under the knees, and also here as an arm support. Maybe you have the incline here, but the bolster is always going to be coming in between the legs, right? And then it would create this sort of practice for you. Another option for the blanket is to place it on your back. Placing the blanket on your back, it just helps with more grounding. So find what you would like to do today. And I'm going to also find what I would like to do today. For me, I'm going to place one blanket under my ankles. I'm not going to use the block. And then I'm going to place another blanket on my back. I hope you find a position for your blankets that feels good for you. Making any micro adjustments that you need to. And I'm setting the timer. All right. So when we come down towards the bolster, leading with the heart melting down, we'll bring the forehead to the bolster. The time begins now. Relax and enjoy. Release any tension that might be in the shoulders, so maybe you make some adjustments in your arms. If placing the forehead to the bolster is a little bit too much pressure for the nose, maybe you turn your cheek onto the bolster. Slow breaths when you remember. If you did put one of your cheeks on the bolster, that would be a good time to turn your cheek, the other cheek, to the bolster. here for a few more minutes. So take slow breaths when you remember. See where you can release yourself a little bit more. Option to take 3 slow breaths here. Awesome. And maybe bring the forehead back to the mat or the forehead back to the bolster. And take one slow breath there. Release any tension in the shoulders. And then bring your right hand to the right side, left hand to the left side. Gently push yourself back up out of our supported child's pose. Let's remove our props. We're going to bring our backs to the mat in what's called a supine position. That's whenever you lay your back on the mat, it is a supine. Today we're going to do a supine twist. If you'd like to, you could definitely keep a blanket with you and place it under your lower back. But move mindfully and gently as we transition. We'll just be here for a moment. Find what feels good. So a nice way to come down to the mat always is to come down on a side body and then roll the back onto the mat. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the mat. You can bring your arms to cactus arms or keep them by your side. Using your core muscles, bring the knees in towards the chest and then allow them to fall towards the right. as much as possible. Turn your head towards the left and pull your left shoulder blade towards the mat. Supine twist. Maybe take a slow breath here. Good. And then using the core muscles, or maybe even using your hands, you could literally lift the legs back in using the hands, and then allow the knees to fall towards the left. Head turns towards the right, pulling the right shoulder blade towards the mat. Maybe take a slow breath here. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, bring the knees back in towards your chest. Hug them in. Give yourself a hug. And then straighten your legs as we head into our next pose or asana, which is a side body stretch. And we're going to use the big bolster for that, as long as that is comfortable for you. If you use the big bolster and realize, not really for me, then you could grab the smaller bolster, a smaller pillow, right? Or maybe use a few blankets instead. But mindfully bring the big bolster or whatever you think you may need onto the mat with you. So this is our side lying stretch. Just moving my props out of the way. Timer. All right, starting on the right side, we'll place the bolster right about where you think your chest is going to be. So coming onto the side body, the bolster should be right under the under armpit. And then once you lay there, straighten the legs. So we're on the side body as much as possible. Try to keep the legs in a straight line, right? We have a tendency to maybe come forward, creating an angle at the hip. We want to see where we can have our legs heading straight out. And then we're going to lift the left arm up and bring the left hand to connect with the right as much as possible. And this will be our side body stretch. So find what feels good for you. Maybe adjust the bolster. If laying on your side hip here is not very comfortable, maybe put a blanket under there, right? Not too much height in the blanket though, so maybe just 2 folds. If it's not comfortable to be on that side completely like that at all, it is okay to tilt the hips back so that you can create that space there. So find what feels good for you in this side lying stretch. I'm going to set the time. And the time begins now. for a few more moments. Wonderful. Take maybe one more slow breath here. So for you, as you come out of this pose, you can simply roll over onto your back and roll over to the other side. And just, maybe scoot and then find your other position. But because I don't want to have my back to you, I'm going to readjust my positioning in a different way. But find what works for you today as we come to do our side lying stretch on the left. Mm-hmm. So find your positioning, making sure that your body is in one line as much as possible, and the time will begin now. Reaching the right arm up and over. If the arm stretch is too intense for you, you do have the option to modify, bringing the arm closer to you. If you're ever engaged in a yoga video with me and it's not quite working for you in a way that's comfortable, especially in restorative, just send me an email, text, or call, and we can talk about it. And maybe come up with a variation that will keep you in the practice. be here for about 2 more minutes. Really stretching the body, reaching the toes away from the body, reaching the arms up. Feel the elongation through the torso and the hips. Wonderful. And we'll start to come out of our side body stretch, rolling over onto the belly. So when we have the belly to the mat, that's a prone position. All right. I'm going to roll the big bolster away. So please remove whatever you had supporting you in that side lying stretch. And we're going to come into our next position. Actually, our next position requires the bolster. So bring that bolster back. We're going to have the bolster under the belly. Yes. I'm going to place my blankets away. If you like, maybe you use a blanket for the forearms, but let me show you where we're going. So we're keeping the bolster under the belly. And then we're going to fold the forearms, toenails pressing against the mat, and then bring the forehead to rest on top of the forearms. So that is where we are headed to. So find what's going to work for you today. I'm going to move away from the wall a little bit more. Right forearm on the mat, left forearm on top of the right, and then forehead resting on top of the left forearm. And then release any tension that may come up in the shoulders. Just drop the shoulders away from the ears. Find what feels good for you, and the timer starts. The timer starts now. The time starts now. moments where you can release any tension and release it with your exhale. Relax the jaw muscles. Just a few more minutes here. Breathe slowly as you remember. Releasing tension with every exhale. Option to take 3 more slow breaths here. Wonderful. And as you're ready, go ahead and bring your hands back to the mat. Gently push yourself up, maybe coming onto the knees or rolling all the way back to the hips, just moving mindfully and gently. I hope you're enjoying this practice so far. Next, we're going to rest in Shavasana. Rolling away the big bolster. If you want to use your big bolster under your knees, you can certainly do that. Maybe grab a blanket to go under the lower back. Maybe grab another blanket to place over you. Find whatever it is that you would like to have for yourself in this practice today. The reason why we would even put a bolster under the knees is to help the lower back. So if you're having lower back issues, maybe that's an option for you today. I'm going to place a blanket right under my lower back. And maybe you can tell by my speech pattern that I am so relaxed right now. I can definitely feel that my cortisol levels have dropped. Let's come into our resting pose. Again, maybe coming onto the side body and then rolling over. I'm going to place my feet on the mat with the knees bent and just slide my blanket up a little bit to the desired position. For our resting pose, legs are straight, arms by the side, palms faced up. Release the body into the mat. Release, release, and relax. Holding on to nothing. Stay here as long as you like, resting. Maybe even bring the arms above your head. Find what feels good for you today. Again, stay here as long as you like. Thank you so much for joining me. Until we meet again, Namaste.